for it and bring attention to your breath, and you're breathing just a few breaths, and then imagine that you're breathing in the breath that nettle is providing, the oxygen, breathing in the breath of the nettle, and breathing out, giving your breath to the nettle, and do it for 7 breaths, just circulating your breath. And then you ask the plant, what have you for me? What have you for me? And then listen. Listening is more than just with your ears. It's what you hear, but it's also what you see, what you smell, what you feel. Okay? And then when you're complete with that, when it feels complete, you say thank you. And so what's happening is you're entering into a more expanded realm of where the plants can speak to you. And by offering gratitude, you're kind of bringing yourself back out of that. So it's really simple. And you can do it with any plant, the tallest tree or the smallest plant, you can do that. But it's a wonderful thing to do with nettle. Another thing you can do with nettle is you can breathe with a nettle like that, and you can say to nettle, nettle, change me. And I've had some amazing experiences with my students and apprentices in them working with nettle in this way. Just very simple. And so here's the thing that is so beautiful and simple and yet somewhat profound, is that this is happening right outside my door. I'm not going to some exotic place like South America or up to the Siberia. I'm not doing that. I'm going right outside my door. And what I have right there are these wonderful, compassionate teachers. What happens when you begin to do this is you begin to develop a personal relationship with the plants that's intimate. And by asking the plants for wisdom, you are finding out more, not just about the plants, but about yourself. It's very slow, very gentle, and a compassionate process. So nettle is the most nourishing of all plants. I feel like I'm here being a herbalist because of nettle. The way that I mostly use it is after the dried nettle, which is like this, you put this in a jar, and what you want is 1 ounce of dry nettle in a quart jar. And then you boil water and you pour it into the jar and fill it up, put a cap on it, let it sit overnight. And that's nettle nourishing herbal infusion. It's not a tea. It sits for a long time, so all the minerals will be released out in it. The first time I drank nettle infusion, my experience was, this is ecstasy. Utilizing the nettle as a nourishing herbal infusion, as a food, is the most common way that I use it. But nettle has some wonderful healing properties. People use it to work with seasonal allergies. So it's anti-inflammatory. And so it's a really good thing to start drinking. And of course, if you think about it, it's coming up in the spring. And if you harvest nettle and you dry it, by the time the grasses start blooming and all the plants start, you'll have your dry nettle for nettle infusion. You can also make an herbal vinegar with it, with apple cider vinegar, and just cut up the plant small and fill a jar, maybe 2/3 full, and then cover with apple cider vinegar and let that sit for 6 weeks, which is about the turn of a season, and then strain it. And then you can use that on your food. But I have an apprentice who took the nettle-infused vinegar, and she had 4 children. And so she had it in her car with her when she'd be going off to play dates and things like that. And she'd have this seasonal allergy thing. And she'd drink a little bit of the nettle and put a little bit of the nettle. She didn't even strain it and just eat a little bit of it. And she said every time, it was like within 5 minutes, her experience would change. Nettle is nourishing for the kidneys and adrenals. And it is said that our chi originates in the kidneys. And so nettle is an energetic tonic.
So using it any way, any way it's a delivery system. So a fusion is a delivery system. Vinegar is is a delivery system. You can steam it too. I understand it at certain points. It's a delivery system, but it always is the qualities that it is.
Yes, it is. And that's a really great way to say it. And in the springtime, then we make nettle soup. And I actually make this nettle quiche, which I just steam it a little bit and then I mix it in with the quiche. It's delightful. People make pesto with it, which I'm not much of a pesto person, but people will cook it a little bit and then mix it with olive oil and garlic and make pesto with it. So all kinds of ways that you can work with the nettle. So the other thing that because it's anti-inflammatory, if you have any problems with joints or anything like that, the nettle will help to relieve pain and bring attention, like healing attention to your ligaments and joints. And people have had a lot of good experiences from it in that way. So pretty amazing plant. Pretty amazing. Okay, so now we've got nettle. It's probably the end of March is when it's probably about this tall.
Yeah.
So now the nettle, when the nettle starts to bloom, then you don't want to pick it anymore because it's a little bit too strong for the kidneys. So you just, later on, when it starts to seed, you can harvest the seeds. And people use the seeds for healing, for working with the thyroid, and there's a lot of protein in the seeds. You can harvest the seeds and dry them and then throw them in your soup and do things like that. So there's even traditionally women use nettle to make cordage.
Oh.
So in fact, the word net actually comes from nettle. So nets were made out of nettle. I know, it's a really amazing plant. So now it's April, and the dandelion has been growing its leaves, and now it's flowering. And so the dandelion has these beautiful yellow flowers that are very happily attract the pollinators. So it's really important to not weed out your dandelions. And I would tell you, I have dandelions in my garden that I've had for 15 years, and I've never had an experience of them taking over. So whatever people say about dandelion in that realm is not true at all. And so anyway, these beautiful yellow flowers. And what you can do is you can go out to where the dandelion are blooming and just what happens is the dandelion flower absorbs the energy of the sun. And so you can breathe with the dandelion, gaze at the dandelion flower, and breathe with it, and imagine that you're breathing in the energy of the sun. And it's a wonderful thing to do in the spring, is to bring that sun energy into your body. So dandelion is a plant that is notorious, of course, tenacious, strengthening, but I like to think of it as the wise woman plant. The reason we have dandelion here is the women in Europe put the dandelion seeds in their pockets when they immigrated to the U.S. They brought the dandelion here because they did not want to be without it. So they thought, I'm leaving, I have to have my plant with me. So whenever you see a dandelion, you can thank those wise women for bringing the dandelion. And so not only is the dandelion flower a way to bring the sun energy in, but the dandelion flower can be very gentle, digestive tonic. So one of the things you can do is you can pick some dandelion flowers and put them in a little mug, pour boiling water over it, and just drink that. And it's a very wonderful little bitter tonic. And you can drink it like before you eat. that could be helpful. The main way that I use the dandelion flower is I make an infused oil with it. So I soak the dandelion flowers in olive oil for 6 weeks, and it is pain relieving, but it is also helps to move energy trapped in your muscles. One of the little stories, I mean, that's kind of a traditional magical thing that dandelion does, but scientifically, people say that it works with the lymphatic system. So it's very, which is moving things around in your body. One of the things I love about indigenous wisdom is that people have been using plants traditionally for thousands and thousands of years, and science is sometimes thought of as being the wisdom, but really what they're doing is they're just discovering these things that have been known for millennia. And then in the fall, we dig the dandelion root, and dandelion root has this substance in it called inulin, which nourishes your gut flora. And it's a starchy substance. It's called a prebiotic, so it enhances your gut flora, and they're finding that your gut is the place of not just digestive healing, but also supportive for the immune system and supportive for the nervous system. So the dandelion is pretty amazing. I mean, and I could go on and on about it because it's so incredible.
How is that? How is it that the root then is used? I mean, is it used like dried like a tea and made an infusion or tea? How would that be used?
Yeah, you can dry the root, you can dry it, and you can roast it. And I've heard that the roasted dandelion root actually has a little bit more inulin. It releases more inulin. Mm-hmm. And you want to harvest the dandelion at the beginning of the fall because it has the most inulin in it. As it goes, the dandelion root feeds on that as through the fall and winters. So it contains the most inulin in the fall. But you can also make a tincture from it or a vinegar from it. And I found the vinegar releases more of the inulin than the tincture does. But the tincture is a way for people to have it, last a little bit longer.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you use an alcohol base for your tinctures?
Yes. I use 100 proof vodka.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which, is liquor from the liquor store.
Right.
It's, makes a fine tincture. Yeah. So, and really just that simple of harvesting the root, cutting it up, filling I would say about half full with the root because it's very dense, mm-hmm. and then pouring alcohol over it or vinegar over it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the things I was told years ago about making tincture types, that are going to set for a little while, like 6 weeks.
Yes.
It's also really valuable to interact with it during that time also. To go in and shake it, be with it, inform you. What do you have? Is that something that you've experienced, the value and power of that?
Yeah, I think so. But what I would say is if you back up a little bit with that, and something I wanted to share was that after you have initiated a relationship with the plant and you breathe with it and you ask it what it has for you, then you can ask permission of the plant to gather. And I've had lots of different experiences with people like this. My experience now, because I've been doing this a long time, is that I will go out into my garden and I'll know, okay, it's this one and it's this one. So I have that experience. And it just takes a while to move into that space, but it's very simple. And I think sometimes if people say that plants don't work for them, it's because those plants weren't for them. And it also, one of the things I wanted to communicate with people is that I invite people